Tom, you are muted.
Yeah, I know. I'm talking to myself.
Okay.
Yeah, good afternoon, everybody. It's a March 2022 meeting of the Essex Region Source Protection Committee. Welcome to you all. First item of business is the land acknowledgement. Katie?
Yeah, I'll begin our meeting by acknowledging that the land that we're on in the Essex region is the traditional territory of the Three Fires Confederacy of the First Nations, comprised of the Ojibwe, the Odawa, and the Potawatomi peoples. We acknowledge the harms and mistakes of our past as we continue to move forward in the spirit of reconciliation. And as we do, we'll start with a statement of gratitude and hope. As always, I'm grateful that we're here together. I'm grateful to see the sun shining today. And I'm hopeful that we'll have a great meeting and really excited to present to you the progress that we've made on the annual report.
Okay, good. Thank you, Katie. Call the meeting to order. In terms of welcome, I'd like to welcome Catherine Eby, who's on her own today. She's our liaison from the ministry. So we welcome her to our meeting. And she's got some things to say a little bit later on. Also with us for your benefit, Kathy, is Larry Verbeek. He's the liaison from the IRCA board, the Source
Protection Authority.
Source Protection Authority. And we have with us also Victoria, I'm gonna mess it up, Pascaluzzi. She's from the Windsor Essex. She's our liaison from the health unit here in Windsor.
You muted yourself again, Tom.
Yeah, I have. I'll have you know that I managed to be the first one here after Katie.
That's right.
This week, so we didn't have to wait 10 minutes for me to show up. Is there any declaration of conflict of interest? I see no hands up. Okay, good. The agenda was pre-circulated. Motion to approve it. Albert and Matthew. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. We had minutes that were pre-circulated as well. You probably got them last week. Motion on the minutes. Albert and Jim. Okay, any addition, deletion, correction? Misspelling? All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Thank you. Everything goes this quick, okay? No correspondence. And Catherine is going to give us an update from the ministry.
Yeah, hi everyone. I do have a cold, so I'm sort of sniffling and coughing, but I'll try and stay on mute when I'm not speaking. Yes, so we've got two updates from the ministry. The Director of Technical Rules were approved and posted on the Environmental Registry of Ontario on December 3rd. And new guidance material on these rules was released on February 15th. At this point, we're encouraging the PMs to come up with a focused list of questions after reviewing the rules and the guidance. And if necessary, there'll be regional discussions to answer any of the outstanding questions. The next update is on the best practices for source water protection. That was released on February 18th. The best practices are designed to help communities and landowners in areas not covered by a provincially approved source protection plan. The guide's user-friendly and interactive and provides lots of easy to understand information and tips. The best practices document is accompanied with a survey on the ontario.ca website, and we'll be seeking feedback through this survey to help us continually improve this tool and to ensure that it remains useful. And that's it, short and sweet today for the updates.
Okay, thanks very much, Kathy. Is there any question from anyone? Okay, seeing none. Thanks for that, Kathy. And you're on again, I guess. This evening's meeting is about the annual progress reporting
Yeah.
document, and Catherine is going to talk to us about the MECP portion of that.
Okay, so it's very timely. So let me just share my screen.
Does that have to be enabled, Katie?
Did it? I did enable it. I thought ahead.
Okay, can everyone see this?
Yes, it's perfect.
Great, and you can hear me, so that's a good beginning.
Mhm.
Yeah, so I'll be taking us through the annual progress reporting summary for the 2020 reporting year. And before I jump in, I just wanted to provide an overview of the reporting process as a refresher. So as you know, the Clean Water Act requires that bodies with implementation responsibilities, like ministries and municipalities, they report annually on the progress they're making in the policy implementation. So they report to the source protection authorities, who in return report by May 1st to the ministry on the progress that they're making in their areas. So our branch receives and analyzes this so we can understand the process, the progress that's being made, and also to identify any challenges that there might be. So yeah, that's what we've done with the 2020 data. And this deck is a summary of the progress made across the province. And we've divided this into 4 sections. So the first set of slides focus on policy and threat implementation progress. There's a few slides that look similar, but I promise you they're slightly different. So on this slide, you'll see the percentage of legally binding policies that have been implemented or are in the process of being implemented. And it's been divided by region, so East, West, Central, and North. And this includes policies like land use planning, prescribed instruments, Section 57 prohibitions, and risk management plans. And the information highlighted in yellow, that's the average across the province. So 98% of these policies have been or are in the process of being implemented. So you can see that in all regions, there's been significant progress made, which is really great. The next slide shows the implementation status of non-binding policies that address significant threats. So 97% of these policies have been completely implemented or in the process of being implemented. And again, we've got significant progress across all the regions. This slide displays the progress of implementing moderate to low threat policies. So nearly 100% of these policies have been implemented or are in the process. And these policies aren't legally binding, so it's really wonderful to see such high implementation rates here. Here we see the percentage of other non-threat specific policies that have been or are being implemented. And that number is 97% provincially. And these types of policies include the general education and outreach policies and research type policies that are not targeted at addressing any particular threat. This slide highlights some implementation challenges. Implement bodies are expressing challenges or delays with a total of 24 low, moderate, or significant threat policies. And of these, 21 are for policies that address significant threats. And these policies include, as you can see, specify action policies, risk management plans, incentive policies, and a few others. And the delays in implementing these policies have been attributed to a number of factors, one being COVID-19. So COVID restrictions has interfered with the field threat verification work that needs to be done on the ground. So that's understandable. This slide is about threat counts. So in addition to looking at how many policies have been implemented, it's also important to look at how many significant drinking water threats have been addressed. Overall, 83% of existing significant threats have been addressed across Ontario. For the 2020 reporting year, all but one provincial region reported an increase in the percentage of existing threats that have been addressed. We see that the provincial average fell 1% in 2020 to 83%. And I'm just going to say it's important to remember, I think, that the number of threats that need to be addressed at any one time is a bit of a moving target. So the number can go up and down. And this is because as plans are amended to update vulnerable areas, this could result in the addition of new threats on the ground that might need to be addressed. Okay, so this slide provides more information on the degree to which different types of threats have been addressed. The green bar shows threats that have been addressed. The red bar are threats that still need to be addressed. So you see the top 5 prescribed drinking water threats that have been addressed include the water quality threats, those green bars down at the bottom, liquid hydrocarbon pipelines, sewage works, and the handling and storage of non-agricultural source materials. The next section highlights Part 4 implementation progress. So in this slide, we focus on risk management plans. And I think this slide really highlights the great work done by the risk management officials. It shows us that 1,139 risk management plans have been negotiated and are now in place across Ontario. They're in place across 1,655 properties, and they address nearly 3,000 threats on the ground. And you can see by comparing the years, we've got significant progress made each year, which is really good. So slide 13 shows the compliance rate with Part 4 policies. So that's Section 57 prohibition policies and Section 58 risk management plan policies. So this looks at whether people engaged in threat activities should have an RMP but don't, or shouldn't be engaging in the activity at all because it's prohibited. And the compliance rate was 98% based on inspections conducted. 2% of inspections revealed non-compliance with Section 58, meaning that an RMP was required but had not been established. And there's, I don't know if you can see the note, but it says for the 2020 reporting year, it was unusual because of COVID-19 restrictions, meaning less inspections were likely conducted than normal. So this slide shows compliance with the actual content of an established risk management plan. So in other words, are the folks who have an RMP implementing the actual risk management measures that are required? So nearly all inspections conducted in 2020 showed a 100% compliance rate, which is really great. The next set of slides show you the progress that provincial ministries are making with implementing their prescribed instrument policies. So all 9 ministry program areas that issue prescribed instruments, like permits to take water or environmental compliance approvals, they reported having processes in place to ensure that source protection is considered in these instruments. And we're going to be able to see the exact 9 programs in some upcoming slides. But the processes that have been implemented include staff training, developing guidance, and mapping and tracking instruments that are subject to plan policies, and a few others that are on there. So this slide gives you a snapshot of the overall progress made by provincial ministries on ensuring that new and existing instruments consider source water protection. It shows us that in 2020, a total of 210 applications were screened for source protection considerations. And I don't know if you can see the bottom numbers. The 210 is at the bottom. And about 80% of these applications were confirmed not to be significant threats, and therefore didn't require a decision on how to manage the risk. And in other words, 39 decisions were made to either manage or prohibit an activity. This slide shows progress being made by ministry program areas to review and take actions on instruments that were issued before the source protection plans took effect. So on previously issued instruments. So as you know, ministries are responsible for reviewing all of these previously issued instruments to ensure they conform with any plan policies there might be, and that they have terms and conditions in them that are protective of sources of drinking water. You can see the breakdown by program area on the slide, comparing the last 4 reporting years. And as shown in the yellow box, by the end of 2020, 94% of all previously issued instruments had been reviewed, which is good. The next 2 slides show how the different ministries have ensured that instrument holders are complying with their prescribed instrument requirements. The slides are called prescribed instrument inspections, but I think a better title would be compliance tools. But anyway, the common types of measures include inspections, which is just one, but also orders, voluntary abatement, referral to internal investigations where they could be charged, and screening of applications and amendments. So this is a continuation of the table, and here we see some of the compliance tools for MNRF and MTO as well. Our last section. So the next few slides highlight Municipal and Source Protection Authority implementation progress. So this slide shows us that 94% of municipalities have incorporated or are in the process of incorporating source protection into their official plans. The differences in progress has been attributed to a number of local factors, such as the timeline for updating their municipal official plans. They're all on slightly different schedules. The complexity of the policies that need to be incorporated, and the availability of resources to undertake this work. But as you can see, they've got increases from year to year, progressing upwards, which is great. So this slide is dedicated to the progress made with signage. A total of 1,779 source protection signs have been installed across source protection regions since 2014. And 90% of those have been installed on municipal roads and about 7% on provincial highways. So here we're talking about septic system inspections. The Ontario Building Code requires that septic systems that are a significant drinking water threat be inspected every 5 years. For the 2020 reporting year, over 6,700 septic systems required inspections in accordance with this code. Of these, nearly 1,500 were inspected in 2020, which is approximately 22%, which is the green slice. And this number is fine because on an annual basis, only a portion of the total systems will be inspected, provided that all systems are inspected within their 5-year cycle. And now we're talking about the inspection results. So of the inspections that were completed in 2020, 83% didn't require any maintenance, 13 required minor maintenance, and 4 required major maintenance. And this slide's dedicated to drinking water issues. So if a source protection authority or municipality is detecting elevated levels of a certain contaminant at a drinking water system, they can elect to identify it as an issue in their assessment report and potentially delineate it as an issues contributing area, or an ICA. So there is a total of 47 issues for which ICAs have been delineated across the province. In 2020, for 13% of those issues, things were improving, meaning that the concentration of the contaminant was decreasing. For 38% of the issues, things were getting worse. And for the remaining issues, there were either no changes, no observations made, or insufficient data. And sometimes there's questions about why so many of these issues, the trend could be increasing. And I think it's because they're complex issues that may take several years before we see the results that we're looking for. So in addition to the implementation status of policies and threats addressed, the authorities were asked to share observations about any positive outcomes that could be attributed to the source protection efforts. And we acknowledge, of course, it's hard to draw a direct correlation here, but the authorities were asked to use their professional judgment and their local experience to make this assessment. And for the 2020 reporting year, the outcomes reported by authorities clustered around two main themes. The first was increased awareness. And you can see there's some quotes there that talk about signage and following the fuel codes and things like that. And the other theme was around water quality monitoring. A few authorities were telling us that concentrations of certain chemicals such as sodium, chloride, and nitrite in the raw water sampling data seem to be either stabilizing or decreasing, which is great. And then on the last slide, we look at how successful the spas have been at achieving their objectives of their source protection plan. And this is meant to just be a holistic assessment of the progress. And authorities were given 3 progress scores to choose from: progressing well, on target, satisfactory, or limited progress. And as you can see, 91% of the source protection committees indicate that actions were progressing well or on target, which is excellent. Okay, so I'm going to stop sharing, and I can open it up to any questions that you might have.
Okay, thanks. Thanks, Catherine. Anybody have questions for Catherine at this point? Edie?
I'm good.
You might think of some later, and that's fine.
Can we give them your home phone number, Catherine?
Of course, 24/7.
I wouldn't dare. Anyway, nothing? Okay, thank you very much, Catherine. It's great to see those stats. It look pretty good to me anyway.
Mhm.
And everybody's doing their part, looks like. And that's important in this program.
Your excellent numbers.
Okay, so Katie, the next is your draft responses, kind of the meat of this meeting. So
Yep.
Turn it over to you.
Okay, perfect. So you can see my slide deck here. So we're going to walk through the annual report, which is something that we do every year in the committee at this time. So just as Catherine said, just a reminder of the process. We, as the Source Protection Authority, are responsible for submitting our annual progress report on May 1st of each year. And the reports are generated from data that we collect from the implementing bodies, and those are received by February 1st. So for us, the implementing bodies are the provincial ministries, municipalities, and the risk management official, as well as the conservation authority, who has policies that we're responsible for as well. And we did receive all of our responses that we required by February 1st. And the report we cover cumulatively since the implementation date of October 1st, 2015 through to December 31st of 2021, but we highlight any of the successes in that 2021 year. These reports are produced based on a template that's provided to us by the Ministry of Environment. And this is our fourth annual progress report, which is exciting. And the way that this process works is that it is my responsibility as staff of the Source Protection Authority to provide you, the Source Protection Committee, with a draft annual progress report. You have 30 days to comment on it. And then it goes to the Source Protection Authority, which will happen sort of right at the very end of your 30-day period. And the Source Protection Authority has to endorse it, and then it gets submitted. So there's a few different little steps that we have to follow. So this is the beginning of your 30 days to provide any comment or feedback that you may have on the annual progress report, including but not limited to finding typos or places where I've put the wrong date in, because that definitely can happen, and I appreciate other eyes on it. So the way that it's structured is the way that that Catherine just laid out the results from the province. We've got an introduction, a message from the SPC, a little commentary about our watershed. And then part 4 of the annual progress report is where the meat and potatoes are. That's where we break down each of these different sections that we're going to walk through. And I forget why that dulls out, so we'll just carry on. So there's a few different sections where we have to provide scores, where you as the SPC get to decide whether we are progressing well, whether it's satisfactory or limited progress. And that's what we're going to walk through today, where you guys are going to decide on those scores. And we do that for the overall score, for implementation progress, municipal progress, risk management, and provincial progress. So when you look at the attachment, which is the draft annual progress report, you'll see the introduction has no change from previous years. We've drafted that text, and we just use it year over year. Part 2 is the message from the SPC, and that's where you guys come in and where Tom comes in. So Tom typically drafts a response to that, and he'll circulate that to the SPC. If you and then if you have any comments, anything that you want him to add that you think you want him to capture in your voice, this is the place for the SPC to create that comment. And we'll come back to this at the very end. This is also where you as a committee decide overall what you feel like our progress is towards implementation. And we have since 2018 as a committee felt that that we are progressing well, which is the highest score we can give it. You'll see too in there's the messaging about our watershed, which is just a description of the Essex region. And again, we don't change that text year to year. So then getting into things, the first place that we look at is the actual implementation progress of our policies. So the Essex Region Source Protection Plan contains 50 policies. 44 of them address significant drinking water threats, 4 address low moderate threats, and 2 address other policies. And we see that we have been increasing the percentage of implemented policies year over year, which is great. That's what we want to see. This year, we've moved 2 policies from in progress to implemented, and 1 policy from no progress made to further action required. So we have increased our total implemented policies. And then I'm going to talk to you about these in progress policies as well. The change in implementation status, we've got 2 policies that are directed at the City of Windsor related to combined sewer overflows. And the way that those policies were written, the policy text said that the city had to do a study about combined sewer overflows and to sort of do something about them. So the city has now completed their sewer master plan, and that's gone through council, and they've got their 2021 to 2028 implementation plan in place. So I feel like it is appropriate to move those policies from in progress to implemented, even given that the policy text said that the city was to start those things, and they've now actually completed them. So I'm comfortable now saying that those policies are implemented. There's another policy, the policy that is for airplane de-icer chemicals in Lakeshore, Amherstburg, and Windsor IPZ1s. We've had that as no progress. The policy text on that one says that the Source Protection Authority is to write a letter to the airport board saying that you can't have an airport in those places. And instead of doing that, there's an option there to say that something is implemented with no further action required. Airports are not a permitted land use in those IPZ1s. So we're moving that from no progress to no action required. So that's where the change in implementation status happens. Does anyone have any questions or comments about those three policies? Okay. The policies that are still in progress, there's 13 policies that are in progress. Most of those are risk management policies. And the reason they're in progress is because we just simply haven't finished looking at the existing threats there. And they apply to Lakeshore IPZ1, Windsor IPZ1, Windsor IPZ2, and Amherstburg IPZ1. So this year, the risk management official, the risk management office, so myself and Laura spent some time really recreating the written direction for Amherstburg and Lakeshore IPZ1 so that we're screening for these additional threats. And we did, an aerial review of those IPZ1s. So we're comfortable that these policies are fully implemented in Amherstburg and Lakeshore. We are still working on Windsor because the IPZ2 is a much larger, more complex area. And we have to, go through the aerial photography and sort of, look around and say, do we see any of these potential existing threats? So that's where those policies are still in progress. And we are working on a specific written direction as well for the city of Windsor that's almost ready to go. So then we'll be screening for those. So by the end of this year, those 13 policies will be fully implemented. And the risk management plan policy for handling and storage of fuel, we only have 2 existing threats left to go, and those are the oil pumping stations. So that will be fully implemented as well. And then the last remaining policy that's in progress is a policy that requires Windsor, Lakeshore, and Amherstburg to prohibit sewage treatment tanks in their IPZ1s. And this is taken care of in Windsor and Lakeshore with their official plan, and it'll be included in Amherstburg's updated official plan. Are there any questions about these in progress policies? Okay. Whoops. So here's our first place to sort of discuss and vote. And so we've got this before us. We see what our policies are and how we're doing with policy implementation. The committee has in previous years decided to say that this is progressing well. If there's anybody who feels that this should be different, this is an opportunity to raise that and discuss that. If you feel like it should be progressing well, then we don't need to discuss. So I will open it up if anyone has anything they want to, if any concerns they want to express here. Okay, seeing none, I will move on. The next thing that we discuss is the municipal progress. And again, since 2018, we've said that our municipalities are progressing well. They have delegated their Part 4 responsibility to the Conservation Authority. So we implement those risk management policies on their behalf, and we report back to them about that. All of our municipalities have screening mechanisms in place for our Section 59 policies. We provide annual training to them if they so desire. So we make that available to our municipalities every year. We have municipalities that have completed and most of them are working on their OP and zoning bylaw updates. They've all completed their roadside installations. Some municipalities need to still replace the old signs, but the signage is there. In 2021, Tecumseh completed their official plan review. So that brings us to 4 municipalities with completed official plans. And I know that myself, I've looked at Lakeshore and Leamington's official plans for source protection conformity. So I know those 2 are in the works. And the remaining municipalities are still in progress for their official plan and most for their zoning bylaws. So this is again a place where the committee gets to decide whether they feel like municipalities are progressing well, satisfactory, limited progress. And again, we've in previous years said this is progressing well. We weren't seeing a ton of movement on the official plans, but I think a lot of them are kind of close. So I think, last year we maybe made a comment about, recognizing that there's some delays in official plans and encouraging municipalities to continue moving forward. So again, if anybody has any concerns that they would like to see addressed in the annual progress report, this is your opportunity to speak up. Tim?
Katie, just a question. What part does the installation of road signs have in this section of the report?
It's a good question, Tim. It doesn't necessarily factor into their score. It's just another thing that municipalities are doing. It is one of the policies that they're responsible for implementing. So it just shows that they have implemented that policy that they're responsible for. This section of the annual progress report, I think from the ministry's perspective, is meant to really highlight the official plans.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thanks for the question. Matthew?
Yeah, would it be, in your experience, would it be safe to say that COVID has had an effect in possibly slowing down? Would that be one reason that we haven't seen as much progress from the municipalities?
I would actually probably turn to our municipal folks who are here, Antonetta and Kevin. Do you feel like COVID has kind of played a role in official plan progress? And Albert?
I'll speak up. Yeah, I believe so. The official plan has a lot of public engagement and public consultation involved in it. So that has been limited or at least delayed in trying to schedule that, or even trying to determine if we should move forward with that. So I would definitely say COVID has affected the timelines there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I would agree from the city of Windsor. COVID has had an impact on staffing patterns and obviously the ability to meet with the community to have discussions. So agreed.
Yes, I would also agree as well. Like I say, we have a lot of meetings and stuff, but people are having a hard time the last couple of years trying to communicate, or for whatever reason, just trying to get everything out there. So yeah, I would agree. COVID has really put a stop into things, at least a slowdown at best.
Yeah, for sure. And I think Nelson, would you agree as well?
Yeah, definitely. We just scheduled the County of Essex official plan first meeting review for the end of this month. So we're back on track with that. So as that goes, we should see others come along too.
Awesome. Yeah, and people are zoomed out, right? And that's kind of really the only way that you can do public engagement right now. And it's definitely hard. And I find even for myself, if I'm doing a presentation, you're kind of talking to nobody, and you hope that somebody watches the recording after. So given that, we can include, I think, similar commentary to what we did last year, that we recognize that municipalities are facing that challenge of COVID-19 and conducting their required public consultation. That's creating a further delay in getting that official plan completed. Does that sound reasonable? Okay. And we're still good. We want to say progressing well. I think our municipalities are doing their very best on this. Okay, awesome. Thank you for the discussion. Appreciate it. The next part that we talk about for scoring is the risk management plan. So we heard from Laura in December. I had her come to you at the end of last year because Laura has had her baby, which is very exciting. Her baby is, when did she have her baby, Laura or Lisa? Like 2 weeks ago, 2.5 weeks ago?
I think it was February 18th.
Yeah, on her due date, actually. Yeah. Which is lovely. So she's got her little boy, Casey, at home. So I had Laura come and speak to you in December so that you could hear straight from her all the hard work that she put in 2021. Again, we've had since 2018 progressing well for our risk management team. And so in summary, we had 384 potential existing drinking water threats identified. 295 of them were determined not to need a risk management plan, and that happened back in 2019. And we did identify 8 additional threats through windshield surveys and various other ways that we saw other existing threats. In 2021, Laura was able to establish another 7 risk management plans. 4 of those were established by order. Those were those cannabis operations that she was having a lot of difficulty reaching. So we did actually have to issue those by order, which was new and exciting sort of thing to have to do. And she also established another 8 risk management plans for new threats through that Section 59 screening process. So in total, we have 97 risk management plans. And if you remember back to Catherine's report, I think there's like 1,300 total. So I think we're a significant proportion of the total number of risk management plans in the province. And we have only those 2 sites remaining. They're oil pumping stations. They're owned by Lagasco. We've been in almost constant communication with them. We're close to having to issue orders to them as well to get this completed, but they are very close to being done. So we anticipate that'll be completed in 2022. So again, this is a place where we discuss scoring. So we have in the past said this is progressing well, and I think we are so close to getting this completed. So if there's any differing opinions, you can let me know here, but otherwise I'm comfortable saying we're progressing well here. Okay. Provincial progress. The province, for us, the provincial policies have been completely and fully implemented since 2018. You saw from Catherine's presentation, they have a number of steps that are in place for screening for new potential drinking water threats. And in the Essex region, they identified 5 existing potential significant drinking water threats. The prescribed instruments were reviewed back in 2018 and determined that the prescribed instrument is sufficient to address the risk. In 2021, they examined 3 new applications for wastewater or sewage works in vulnerable areas and determined that they were not significant drinking water threats. Since 2016, they've reviewed 33 new applications in the Essex region, and we've had no new significant drinking water threats identified through that process. So I feel very comfortable that the province is doing their job. They're screening for potential new significant drinking water threats. And so that discussion again for how we want to score those, if there's any discussion that anyone wants to have on that score. This one is called change in behavior, which is, kind of one of those oddly named sort of things, but this is where it's about the road signs is where we discuss here. So we've had Kingsville installed 4 new signs this year, but otherwise all of our road signs are in place. There's a few places where we've now noticed that some of the old signs are in place where they need to be replaced, but the signage does exist. So we're comfortable knowing that. We have 61 total of the new signs. There's 61 of those signs around the region. And we did that really successful road sign video this year to sort of help people understand what the road signs mean. So this section really is just to sort of comment on the number of signs that we have. Question 8 is where we talk about our source water quality.
Okay.
Yeah, go ahead, Tom.
Yeah, on that awareness and change of behavior, we are attempting to evaluate what our reach is. We started to do a few things like count clicks on the website and things like that. I think that's worth a mention in here as well. Beyond the road signs, that we are trying to develop strategies to figure out what our contact percentage is.
Yeah, I was thinking, Tom, I actually might put that in the at the end. I'll tell you where I was thinking about putting that.
Okay.
But yes, thank you for the reminder, because that is something that I wanted that I did want to do. Yeah, so the results from monitoring, so in this section is usually where I write up sort of an update on what happened with the harmful algal blooms in the previous year, which I would have sent you at like in the fall. I do a bit of an overview of the size of the bloom and the severity of it, and different activities that have happened internationally. But this year, I'm also going to highlight the report that we received in the fall and the presentations that we received in the fall about Lake St. Clair. So to sort of, make that, start discussing that this committee is identifying harmful algal blooms as a drinking water threat, not only in Lake Erie, but also in Lake St. Clair. So I haven't written that section yet, but that's what that section will be. If you have any additional comments or ideas or things that you would like me to add there, then by all means, you can let me know, and I will make sure that I circulate that text for you guys to review as well. Any thoughts on that? Good. Okay. The question 9 is the science-based assessment reports, work plans. This is really just where we talk about our section 36 work plan. So I'll just, write a blurb up about that we created our work plan in 2018, and I'll highlight the progress that we've made towards it, which we received in the meeting in January. And just sort of also summarize that report you received in January about what our plan is for 2022 towards completing that section 36 update. So again, this is a bit of text that I haven't quite written yet, but that's the intention of what will be there. So this is the place, Tom, where I was thinking about including the social media assessment. So there's another spot in the annual report it's this sort of all encompassing more from the watershed. And this is the opportunity for the Source Protection Committee to highlight whatever they want to highlight from successes and things that have happened throughout the year. So previous years, we highlighted the integration of source water information into IRCA's day-to-day practices. We included some information about road signs around the region. And the last couple of years, we've talked about change in implementation of fuel tanks and the success that we've had in getting those risk management plans in. Some ideas that I had that maybe we could do this year. I thought it would be great to highlight that the sign video that we made and talk about that. The online mapping tool that the province has made, and the roadside campaign that Conservation Ontario came up with. So they had a song and everything. So really, kind of pushing that social media side of things. And then here too, Tom, is where I thought I can ask Erin to kind of look at creating me, a little paragraph or something about the impact that we're having through our social media in that area. So those were my thoughts, but this is also your place to let me know if there's anything else, or if you think that that's not a good idea. This is the committee's place to talk about what they want to talk about here. Do those options make sense to everybody?
Everybody's nodding their head. It looks
Yeah,
like.
good. And Tom, that makes sense for you too, to put that in there?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, cool. Then we could just go back and we revisit that overall score, and we've identified each of those individual places to score as progressing well, and we have in previous years since 2018 identified the overall implementation progress as progressing well. If there's no disagreement, then I will leave that as progressing well here as well. Okay, cool. Then that's it. So this is the resolution. So what happens now is that, you've got that opportunity to comment back, and I then take your comments, finalize the version, and it goes to the Source Protection Authority. So our resolution is that we submit our annual progress report to the Ministry of Environment on or before May 1st, 2022, pending any suggested changes from you. Any additions that we have to make, and endorsement by the SPA. And I'll stop sharing here so that Tom can call the vote.
Yeah, I did have a question.
Yeah, go for it, Tom.
But I've lost it.
Oh, that happens. You can ask me later if you remember.
Sure. Oh, I know what it was. Dates. if you want the committee to make
Oh,
comments.
yeah,
give us a
I
date,
will,
would.
yeah, I will do that.
And the process would include, in that section that I'm supposed to write, I wrote it last year. We circulated, I got 38 comments. So there were changes. Some of them were just grammar.
Yep.
Because I'm an engineer, I'm not a linguist. And, but some of them were good in terms of what would be included in that. Just when you consider suggesting something that we should comment on in there, just remember we've got, what, 250 words, Katie,
Yeah, I mean,
altogether?
that's what the ministry originally said. You know, and we don't need to write a novel. But I think that was, it kind of met this very particular template that they were using. But with AODA standards, things are changing. And I think it's very challenging to get what the ministry is sending us to be AODA compliant. So I will probably just make it a Word document that I can make AODA compliant. So I'm not super concerned about the character limit, but we also don't need to write a novel.
All right, so again, with that, a deadline for submitting suggestions for comments to me, and then a deadline for the overall thing.
Yeah.
So-
I'll send out another email with sort of a final version, and I'll put the dates in there.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
So there was a suggested,
And
Resolution.
I need a mover and a seconder for the resolution.
yeah, I'm waiting, I'm trying to find the suggested, oh, Katie read it
I did.
at the end of her report. So is there a motion? Someone want to make that? Matthew? And Jim? Okay, any discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Everybody's happy. Good. So we're at new business. I had one question. You kind of peripherally referred to it in your presentation, but not without giving away any legal information. Can you tell us the process that you use to get the cannabis orders out?
Oh, sure. Yeah. I have to stretch my brain a little bit, but it's all very much laid out in the Clean Water Act, and Catherine can jump in as well if I'm way off base. But basically what happens is there's very set rules. So we, under the Clean Water Act, Section 58, whatever subsection, Laura went out and affixed a letter to the property, so to a fence or something. So she actually, put it in like a paper protector and zip tied it to the fence. So that was their initial order, saying, if you don't respond within 120 days, a risk management plan will be established by the risk management official by order. I believe she did get a few responses. So she was able to negotiate a risk management plan with, I think, like 3 of the 7, so that it was done in partnership with the landowner. The 4 that were issued by order at the end of that time period, the end of that 120-day notice, she then went out with the risk management plan that's established by order. So the risk management official has established the risk management plan, and the landowner is now legally responsible for adhering to that risk management plan that's been issued by order. And again, that was physically affixed to like the chain link fence on the property. So it's been delivered, and she's got record that it's been delivered. And I think she said she did go back and saw that they were taken down. And on those particular properties, it's empty tanks. So the risk management plan just says, we know you have this empty tank on your property. It must never be filled. So I think that's generally what those risk management plans said. So I think that's sort of the general process of establishing a risk management plan by order.
So was there any effort to establish the difference between the ownership of the property and the operator on the property?
We tried everything. It was very challenging because they're typically foreign owned. And so there's hardly ever anybody on the property who speaks English, who can tell you who the owner even is. Was very challenging to find ownership of these properties or even speak to anybody associated with the properties.
Well, the properties have to be registered with the town, right? I mean, there's a legal ownership of the property that's established that you can use for sure. My question was more about, is there a property that a landowner has and he's leasing the building to an operator who's doing whatever they're doing? Or is the owner and the operator one and the same?
I'm not certain that these were very tricky properties, and we tried various avenues to not have to use orders. We did not want to have to use orders, but that's what it came down to. So we wanted to steer clear because many of the places that Laura identified were actually later rated by the OPP. So, we didn't really want to be involved with them.
Give the order to the OPP when they go in.
Yeah, exactly.
No, okay, we'll chat about it a little later.
Yeah.
Katie, but
Yeah,
that might be interesting.
we don't anticipate anything like that happening in other places. These are very specific circumstances.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
Does anybody else have any new business or any business they want to raise? Seeing none. We've reached the adjournment step. Tim
So moved.
and Nelson, okay. Actually, Tim and Albert, how's that?
There you go.
All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Happy Easter
Oh yes, it's late
between
this
now
year.
and
Mhm.
then. And happy end of COVID, I hope.
I hope. Let's cross our fingers. The next meeting is scheduled for June 8th. That is the plan.
So we're at the end of the meeting. I haven't called the vote on the adjournment yet, but I'd like to have just 1 minute of silence for the Ukraine and what's going on over there. Okay, thank you for that. It's a sad situation over there when you see what they're showing on TV.
Yeah.
Apparently, they leveled a children's hospital today. So
Yeah, a maternity hospital, I believe.
so the next meeting is on June the 8th. We should vote on the adjournment motion. All in favor? And see you then. Thank you.
Oh, thank you for joining us. See you later.
Bye,
Everyone.
everyone.
Take care.
There we go. Good meeting. Good discussion. It's good. Oh, you're muted. You're muted. You did it. You muted yourself.
See, somehow we're still